Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. The rift between the Biden administration and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seems to be growing. The U.S. abstained from a UN vote calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, so the resolution passed. Yes, Russia and China voted to lecture Israel on aggression and civilian casualties. Netanyahu canceled an Israeli delegation visit to Washington shortly thereafter. White House spokesperson John Kirby said the U.S. vote, or lack thereof, does not represent a shift in supporting Israel, but it sure does seem like it, doesn't it? Joining us is former Secretary of State and Fox News contributor Mike Pompeo. Mr. Secretary, welcome. It's so nice to see you again. So Russia and China vote for a ceasefire with Israel, and the U.S. sits on its hands. How is that not a shift in U.S. policy towards Israel?
Well, Trey, it's great to be with you on this special day. We're talking about Israel, right? The place where these events transpired on this special day. And what the United States did by allowing that resolution to pass was we rewarded Hamas. We rewarded the terrorists, what they did on October 7th. And so the Iranians, the Russians, and the Chinese are happy, and our Israeli partners are under even more difficult circumstances than they were before. This was a major event. I don't know why the Biden administration let this happen. Maybe it's U.S. domestic politics. I hope it's not the case. It sure looks like it. But make no mistake about it, Israel now recognizes that their friend, their ally, their long-term committed partner is not going to stand with them in the way that they need to in this true time of crisis.
You know, Mr. Secretary, you put your finger on the question I think most people are asking, which is the question of why. I mean, it's been 6 months, only 6 months, since Hamas invaded Israel and killed scores of innocent civilians, including women and children. So what is the statute of limitations on a country defending itself against a terrorist group? The U.S. spends decades doing it, and apparently 6 months is all Israel gets?
It's truly remarkable, Trey, to watch the Biden administration, who was frankly really good in the opening days, October 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, but in the meantime has now come to listen to this pro-Hamas wing of their own political party, where the president's going to events, he's hearing from protesters, but instead of articulating why it matters to Americans, why having an ally and a partner like Israel matters to the lives of every single American, why it's the right thing to do, he simply begins to cave in ways that will undermine American security. Your point about 6 months is well taken. You know, the storyline has become that the Israelis are somehow behaving in a way that is immoral. Nothing could be further from the truth. You and I know how the Americans fight. We know how the Israelis fight. They're doing everything they can to protect these civilians, and it is Iran and Hamas that are putting these civilian lives at risk. I can't explain why the Biden administration has so quickly caved to this minority wing of their party. Maybe, Trey, it's because it's not that small inside their party. Maybe it's a larger bloc than you and I might otherwise think it is.
To that point, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called for regime change in Israel. Major U.S. newspapers defending him after he did it, and some House members are frankly openly pro-Hamas. So it's either pure politics, seeking favor with young voters, or there's something else going on that I can't see. You're the one that graduated #1 at West Point. Is it politics or something else going on?
You know, I do think this is about U.S. domestic politics. It can't be about security, because we know Israel is going to do the right thing and defend its own sovereignty. It's going to take care of Hamas. It's going to do the hard work to defend itself against Hezbollah in the north as well. So it's not about strategy or security. And that leaves only President Biden, who's in a political fight for his life, and so thinks these are some votes that he needs to get, and so is caving to this truly this truly anti-Semitic component of his party that doesn't understand the deep commitment that the United States has had, a bipartisan commitment for decades, Trey, as you know from your time in Congress, a bipartisan commitment to understanding the Middle East in a way that preserves what America needs. They've walked away from it. It looks like it's the worst of domestic politics impacting American security, and I hope the Biden administration will learn to rise above it.
Mr. Secretary, the war in the Middle East has diverted attention away from Eastern Europe. In your judgment, what's the state of war there, and will the U.S. continue to provide aid or loans or whatever you want to call it to Ukraine?
Trey, I still remain optimistic. I've said from the beginning now, 2.5 years on, that the United States has a deep interest for itself to put America first. requires us to do the right thing for Europe to help Europe defend itself. We need the Europeans to do more. I'm convinced that we will continue to do that. The Ukrainians continue to fight hard. It is a very difficult fight there, but they need Western support. They need Germany, they need France, they need the United States, they need all of us continuing to provide them with simply the resources. They haven't asked for our young boys and girls. They've simply asked for stuff. We ought to provide that to them. And if it's in the form of a loan so that when Ukraine gets back on its feet, they can repay us, so much the better.
Mike Pompeo, truly one of the more remarkable resumes of anyone I know. If you go through it from college all the way to now he's in the private sector, I personally hope he stays in the private sector and these rumors of going back to government aren't true, but that's just my selfishness. Happy Easter to you, Mr. Secretary. I hope I see you soon.
Happy Easter, Trey. Bless you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.